going on, guys? It's Subpar SC here. Giving you kind of a look inside of the mind of a Zasalamel main. I feel like we all play a little bit differently, so it's not fair for me to say that this is a guide. It's more a look into the mind of how one of the many styles of Zasalamel is played. I feel like Zasalamel is a methodical mix-up character, right? So he never wants to be in range 0 like a character like Yoshimitsu or Taki or even Mitsurugi. He wants to be maybe here in the 2-character range, where all of his long-range mix-ups will lead to close-range mix-ups. You don't want to run in and then just start 6K'ing and 3K'ing. You want to pull them in and make them have to deal with it, right? So because you're in this range, your best tools end up being like 6A, 6B, 4A plus B, and I'd even say that 3A from this... Oh, I'm a liar. I wouldn't say that 3A is one of the better tools from that range. His launcher is one of the better tools from that range for sure. His 2-2B and 8-8B series. And then once you get them pulled in or get them with a combo that leads to close range Oki, I wish I could land this. That leads to close range Oki, then you have all your close range mix-up tools, right? Like 6K, like 3K, like 3AB, like 3AK, and like a 2A plus B. Right, and the reason why you don't want to start with the close range mix-ups is because for the most part they all have faults. They're all punishable in some way. Like none of his moves are completely fallible. He doesn't have a move, even though people think, oh, this move's so amazing, it's steppable, right? These, both of them, even though it's a mix-up high or mid, they're both steppable. Now, once you get into the nitty-gritty of this versus this, in close to 1 character range, 0 to 1, then it becomes a little more scary because now, oh, you try to step this. Or this, oops, or this, you get hit by this, which becomes a mix-up all itself because now you have to deal with that. His mix-ups aren't the most powerful, but they lead to situations in which your opponent starts to get frustrated, right? So even if you're just going for on block, even if you're going for 6AA or 6AB, right? Right, you can get things like your 1A because that tech crouches. You can, when you're plus, you can go for 3K or 6K. You can even charge the unblockable, I'm sorry, the break attack, and then switch out, you know? It feels like you want to mix them, but you don't want to put yourself at risk for it most of the time. You want to enforce your mix-up once you've established your game plan and your optimal range. Because it's, at the end of the day, a lot of this is reads. So you want to be the one that has the better read. You want to pull them in, hey, guess what, now I can react to you, but I can still mix you. You want to be 0, now you have to react to what I'm going to do. You want to curse them +4, now you have to react to what I'm going to do. You know, even his break attacks are at the end of the day a mix-up. They can step that, it's reactable, but what are they going to do, duck that? Go ahead, you know? It feels like the Zasalamel's toolkit for at least the close-range characters is pretty solved. Now, the longer-range characters are the ones that you want to keep out. I'm sorry, the close-range characters are the ones that you want to keep out. He has moves like 4-4B, which is pretty good. 0 on block if you fully hold it. If you don't do the hold version, I believe it's punishable. But it's far enough away that it's hard to punish. His 4-4A plus B is -12 on block, which means that if you do it like range 0, you're going to get punished by every character on the roster. But if you do it from like max range, which I believe is right here, maybe a little bit further, you're only going to take a small punish from some characters. Let's see if Yoshi can punish it with AA from this range. Yeah, see, Yoshi can get a punish on it if it's not properly spaced. If it's properly spaced, you can actually get a punish on him for attempting it, which is kind of crazy. Of course, that's not the optimal combo. Let me see. That would be it, I believe. I don't have a Kimmy on, so I can't... This isn't a combo guide of any sort. It's more just like a theory guide. This is 0. And I believe it puts them at a range where you're fine, yeah. See, that I'm gonna mess up the combo because I'm too busy talking. This is safe. And leaves you at a range where if your opponent immediately presses after, you have first initiative. If they immediately press after, you get first guess, right? Unless they just run up block, which is something you should always do. Run up block is not a bad thing. Movement's really key in this game, but I'm sure if you're listening to a mindset, not a guide, you probably understand that already. Even his throws are a mix-up, right? And I don't mean that he has front throw, back throw. I mean that his front throw is gives them plus frames if they break it. So now I'm +8. I feel like that's the gist of Zasalamel. That's how he feels to me, at least. Just know that, see, that was a step kill for Zasalamel. It's very hard for him to step a lot of things because he's so wide. So you want to play the game plan where you're not moving. You're the brick wall, but because you have so many step killers, you stop your opponent from wanting to step. Yeah, you want to be the one that's in charge. When Zasalamel doesn't have a lead, I feel like he's a lot worse. But his Oki tools are really strong. Like, yeah, they're not going to do the most amazing damage in the world. It's not going to be an Aswell Axe Low or a 3B that's going to lethal hit, right? But it'll get you in situations where your opponent doesn't know how to react. It makes them want to squirm. But then the problem is, you can't squirm. See, that's what happens if you try to squirm. You get hit. You can't squirm. His game plan is kind of a kit of baiting and mixing up at like the 2-character range against most of the cast. And then it's the really long range characters, you just want to make them whiff a bunch. Oops, if I was better, right? With moves like that, now Zasalamel and Soul Charge becomes a totally different monster, and I would say that there's 2 ways that people usually play him in Soul Charge. Let's turn this on to Infinite. There we go. So a lot of Zasalamels want to use the moves that don't, because that's going to cause Soul Gauge, right? This and this, those cause Soul Gauge. This and this do not cause Soul Gauge. Neither does his new throw. Yeah, and it puts a curse. Because of where your moves work in the longer range, it makes sense, right? Because now if someone tries to press after you, you have this giant launcher, you have that. You have this to pull them in if they're also trying to turtle with you. But you probably usually don't want to pull them. And of course, this is going to give you a mix-up of some sort. You get to wait and see what they're going to do. You can even get that. And then, of course, the others, the Zasalamels are mix once they go into Soul Charge. Neither of these strings are completely infallible. So they're not the smartest thing to just rely on and spam. But they give you good, I would say they give you a good chance to mix up an opponent who's not ready for them. Not to mention the fact that the Oki off of his, this string is really powerful and leads into the mix-up off of that. His Soul Charge game plan gets summed up as one of 2 things, or if you want to try to mix them together, it's a wait-and-see sort of a long-range game where you're just stacking your curses and biding your time, trying to get any sort of advantage so that you can just get an explosive combo of some kind, like off of that. Or it's just run in, go full Unga, and mix. You know, throw them, make them gas when they're waking up. Scare them with plus frames into wanting to get out of it. Pop them for it with super. Pop them for it with more Soul Charge moves. Or whip punish with your big launcher in close range when they try to get out of your pressure. I don't know. That's just how I feel about the Zasalamel. I would say that, I guess, if I had to pick like a best moves for Zasalamel, if I had to give someone that, that list of like best moves or whatever, I would probably say that his better moves are the ones that pull them in, like these. Even if they're slightly minus, because I believe this is -4 and I believe this is -4. And this is 0. I'd say that it's any of the moves that pull them in for plus frames, or any of the moves that push them out. So 4B plus K, which is also a counter hit launcher. 228 kind of pushes out a little. I'm sorry, 448 plus V also kind of pushes out a little bit. What other move am I thinking of that like completely pushes them out of range? I believe it's that. That kind of pushes out a little bit at max range. And if they're not near a wall, they're usually not going to get a punish unless they're named Raphael. And then the moves that are, of course, meant for the mix-ups to keep them guessing. Because he gets a lot off of... he gets a lot of scrambling situations off his mix-ups. I won't say he gets a lot of damage or a lot of pressure, but it's a lot of scrambling situations in which if your opponent makes the wrong read, they get supered or they get GI'd into launch. Stuff like that. So any of his mix-up tools and any of his pull-in moves is what I would say are his best moves. It was a little scrambled. I know this isn't the best guide, I'm sorry, the best look into my mind, but of course, my mind is working at 1,000 miles a minute because I'm super hyped for Season 2 and Cassandra, and I need to get in the lab with her and see what she can do. But I thought I would just give you guys a little insight to how I play Zasalamel and how I think his meta could be developed, or how I think he plays optimally. Thanks for listening in if you were just listening, or thanks for watching and looking at moves with me if you were here the whole duration. Subpar out. Go ahead and like and subscribe for more Subpar content if you